So, capitalism.
2 hours later.
As far as I can tell, capitalism itself isn't necessarily that bad. However, there are two parts to it that, I don't know, seem to make it ecologically very, very poor. And also, it hasn't really fulfilled the promise of getting rid of feudalism. I don't need to get into the history of this. But then capitalism came along, and this formed the middle class. And what the biggest strength of capitalism has been thus far has been social mobility. We may now be petering off at the end of what capitalism can really do for us. But I don't see changes happening anytime soon. We have to think about this in terms of generations, rather than, okay, cool, one thing's going to happen and that will solve everything. In fact, I don't really think that a utopia is possible. All we can do is aim for a system that is appropriate for the conditions in which it operates. So, for example, whilst socialism sounds really, really cool, I'm not so sure that it can happen until the technology is there in play to sort out large-scale resource management. And I also don't think that our social systems are there either yet. A violent overthrowing of the current systems in place. And I just didn't think that was likely. And even if it did occur, then there would be potentially horrible consequences. In fact, violence begets more violence. We've seen this happen a number of times in history. So, what does the answer then become? And I somewhat ironically thought, oh yeah, I'll just be a better capitalist. But now I've been capitalist pilled. So in this video, we're going to look at 3 ways that you can be a better capitalist and maybe save society. So the first way that you can be a better capitalist is obviously use your capital more efficiently. Adam Smith would say it's the invisible hand. Efficient capital, in theory, is what drives markets. It's what makes the system move as smoothly as possible. So, we need to start making sure that we're spending it in the right places. For example, buying something new is actually a huge waste of money. It rarely is that much better than what you currently have. The price is massively inflated from what its true value is. And you can tell this. So when a new product comes out, say the iPhone 16, and then you look in the drop in price of the iPhone 15, you'll see this in action. The iPhone 16 is marginally better than the iPhone 15, but the iPhone 16 carries that premium. Similarly, if you look at the second-hand market, you are trying to sell something brand new with tags, you can't command the same price as if they walked into a store and bought it. What's the value of that experience? Nothing. Then, if you take the same item and cut the tag off, you can charge even less for it. It's absolute madness. So, if you're going to be a better capitalist and save society, the first thing you need to do, exclusively buy second-hand. Now, I'm sure some of you are like, oh, but there's a special instance in which I must buy it first-hand. By all means, sure, go ahead. But definitely make that the exception rather than the rule. The other thing is stop spending money or investing capital in things that don't really hold any value. And you can look at that in high fashion with what Balenciaga's been doing recently, where they're literally selling shit to rich people who will just buy it because it says Balenciaga on it. Such a shallow philosophy, isn't it? It's one of the reasons why I've decided that irony is quite boring. The second thing that you need to do in order to be a better capitalist is exploit the systems as much as you can. This might include something like, if you have a job, if they match your pension contributions, that's free money, man. That's free real estate.
Free real estate, I'll pee my pants.
You got to get in on that. If they match, I don't know, say 5% of your salary, that's a 5% pay rise, effectively. Granted, you can't get it until you reach pension age, but that's 5% more money for free. I don't understand why everyone doesn't do it. Similarly, we want to try and pay as less tax as possible, right? That's what your role is as a good capitalist. So look into how to minimize your tax burden. For example, if you get a stocks and shares ISA, you can invest in the stock market and not pay any capital gains tax on anything that you have within that wrapper. There's a bunch of other things that you can do to minimize tax as well, including getting a SIP, which is, I believe it stands for self-invested pension portfolio, but look into it. There's lots of ways for you to reduce tax, like you should, if you're going to be a better capitalist. Finally, there are a number of great government programs that you should take advantage of. When I was made redundant, I spent 7 weeks not claiming benefits. That was like 800 quid that I just didn't have that was provided to me for free. The third thing that you need to do in order to be a better capitalist is, if you can get away with it, do it. We live in an age now where I bought this camera for £50 off eBay. I saw it being sold. They had make an offer. I was like, bro, I'll give you 50 quid for it. And the person said, yeah, absolutely. Does that make this camera worth £50? I don't know, who cares? But there's nothing stopping you from doing that. So I guess the third thing to make you a better capitalist is to like say, fuck it, and just, if you can get away with it, do it. That's how it works. That's how the system works. Well, that's fucked up, isn't it? In terms of recommendations for books, Debt by David Graeber is very good. That will give you a good insight into the history of money. One of the books you shouldn't read, but you should do research in, is The End of History. It was written in the 90s, and they were just like, cool guys, we've done it. This is the end goal. We've reached the end goal of society. And you should research that to give you a sense of how slowly we move as a world in terms of thinking and thought. Like, comment, subscribe. Let's get some discourse going about whether or not you think like you can separate consumerism and classism from capitalism. My name's Nate. I'll see you next time.